Hi. Yeah, I know my mouth is not in sync with the video here. I just haven't been able to figure it out yet, or get around to figuring it out. Um, so just kind of think of this as a podcast, an audio podcast. Don't watch the screen, right? Unless you really want to. Okay. So recently, a little interesting fact came to my attention that, someone that seemed to be following my work has come and blurted out this kind of condemnation, of what I've been putting out here. In a kind of typical way that a very left brain person would do. Because I've been trying to make an emphasis, I don't want to mention names on this video, but somebody has claims to have difficulties with their family and stuff, right? So this is kind of a disclaimer video. I want to make it clear what the work involves, what it's all about, as clear as possibly, and what you should expect if you're going to do the work, and what you should need to think about before you need to think about doing the work, and what steps you should be taking before you think about doing the work seriously, right? Because I've basically got to do this, even though I've put all my videos on as entertainment. People have pointed the finger at me. This person's kind of pointed the finger at me as though I'm kind of a Satanist. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that nothing could be further from the truth, Well, I don't know about that, more or less, That's kind of what I think. I'm kind of a bit surprised, although, as I will explain, not completely at all surprised, And I'll explain why. So I've come up with 3 things that you really, really want to do if you're going to do the work. And especially there's one, you've got to think about these things before you even think about doing the work properly. Maybe there's 4. But anyway, I'll start with the first one is. Now, these are not in order of importance. They are all inclusive. They all need to be taken seriously and be dealt with. So the first one to get off my, out there is you need to understand about the written word, right? There are 2 main places where you can find out about this. You've got the Book of Enoch and Plato's Republic, I believe, where Plato talks about Socrates and Socrates' beliefs. It might not be Plato's, probably it might be included in the complete works of Plato, but I'm sure they're not that huge. He's from such a long time ago that they're only going to have a relatively short book about it all. The complete works of Plato, I'm sure it only takes up one normal sized book, and that will tell you all you need to know about the arguments from Socrates against the written word. Now, what I think, the reason I make a big deal out of this is because it's not just listening to these arguments, it's looking at everyday reality. The scientists have made all these discoveries, and they're looking after, paying attention to what's going on in the world, that they notice that we're in a man-made mass extinction event, etc. So we're in a situation where it's an emergency. We're in an emergency situation, right? Now, I can say this, I can point to the evidence, but the vast majority of you won't make any difference to your life whatsoever. Telling you this, it's a fact. It's a red alert. All hands on deck. This is a serious emergency. What's happening? You're all just watching cat videos and complaining about this like minor little shit, right? It's not your responsibility. I'm trying to make you responsible, because with power comes responsibility, right? So with responsibility comes power, right? The point of doing the work is to become a powerful person, right? So you need to take responsibility for stuff. Now, people that are in the left brain, which is the vast majority of people, you're sort of like, you've been conditioned to be left-brained because of the written word. The way the written word is pushed onto you in childhood. What it does is it makes you become locked up in the left brain, and that makes you kind of like, you don't look at reality like you would do from the right brain. You look at the map of reality that you've been given, right? Through people telling you how the world works. So throughout your childhood and stuff, you're constantly being told by these so-called authority figures how you should see the world, what you should do, what you should think. And so this becomes automatic. It's like this entrainment. And then, so what you end up with in your consciousness, the vast majority of people in their consciousness, they're not dealing with reality. They're dealing with somebody else's map of reality. And this is called programming. This is why I have used the Matrix films a lot in my videos. When I was doing the work, I made a lot of references to the Matrix. And I started asking myself, am I mentioning the Matrix movies too many, too often? Have I become fixated on the Matrix movies or something? And what I think now is that no, it's not that. It's just that doing the work is like taking the red pill. Okay. This is partly an answer to the person that has like put me in this position where I feel like I've got to make a disclaimer video, right? And also, another thing about the work is that one of the intentions was at the beginning, I didn't really want people to sort of, jump on the bandwagon and actually follow what I was doing. But apparently this one person has kind of partially been following, but that's like that in some ways that's a really bad idea because they haven't done certain things which I stipulated at the beginning when I started making the videos. I stipulated that you need to do certain things, and one of the things, the first thing I mentioned that I remember you really, really have to do is make your own videos. You've got to make a video log of yourself doing the work. Each day you've got to do like a vlog, and say what you're doing. And then, then it creates a two-way sort of street. It's like a dual carriageway then, whereas if you don't do that, then in my interactions with you are the equivalent of a bumpy single traffic lane where you can't overtake. If you come up with someone else traveling the other way, you're both blocked. It's fucking really, really stupid. That's why I emphasize that you have to do your own video logs, on YouTube, so that I can see them and that you can comment on my videos as you're doing the work, and I can give you feedback, right? And it also then creates a kind of blockchain where there's like accountability. Whereas it seems like you've left it 5 years and all this shit's happened and you haven't been doing the work properly because you haven't been making your own video logs, right? And there's other things that I think that people need to do. I've also mentioned you should definitely take Bacopa monnieri and Asiatica centella, or Centella asiatica, whatever it's called, which is Gotu kola and Brahmi in other names. And these are two Ayurvedic medicines that have been used for thousands of years to balance the left and right side of the brain, and like create sort of redundancy against wrong thinking or insanity and stuff, you know. So before you even think about doing the work, I really strongly suggest, I'm absolutely fucking adamant, find some good sources of good quality herbs, raw herbs, and put like a good heaped teaspoon in of each herb in a cup, and top it up with hot water and just drink it, maybe twice a day for a few days. I got an instant reaction, so you, as far as I'm concerned, you only need to take it once or twice just to know what it does. But the inclination of the left-brained person, which is most people, is that, oh, I feel okay. I think I'm probably one of those people who doesn't need to balance my left and right side of the brain. And you leave it at that, and you don't take this medicine. Now, then you're not doing the work. If you don't do that, then if you don't take these herbs, I can't really say that you're doing the work, because we don't know then. You don't know whether your left and right side of the brain is in balance. The tendency of an unbalanced mind is to believe that they are completely balanced, you know, and they don't need any help. You know, that's what the left brain people do. And that's by far the vast majority of people. You're all deeply embedded in your left brain. And so that you think you don't need this medicine, you know, and you basically convince yourself you don't need this medicine. Now, doing the work is taking on board things like this. There's no harm in trying it, is there? You know, you've got to be realistic. There's no harm in trying it. These are perfectly safe herbs. No harm can come to you. They're not psychoactive or psychotropic or anything like that. They're perfectly safe herbs. You can take a teaspoon of each herb in some hot water, and you'll be perfectly fine. And the worst thing that can happen is that your left and right side of your brain will become more balanced, which can only be a good thing. You can only good can come out of it, you know. And it will only cost you a few pounds or a few dollars, maybe less than $10 to buy these things, you know. And it's imperative. If you're going to do the work, it's imperative that you do this. You know, I refuse to take responsibility for people who won't do these basic, simple things before starting the work. And like, again, making the videos, making your daily vlog, so I can see what's going on. You know, the idea that I'm thinking of, if you didn't do that, it's like trying to learn to drive a car, but refusing to use your feet on the pedals. So you're not going to be in control. You're going to have an accident. You know, it's kind of that simple. But trying to get people who are left-brained people who are in the matrix to sort of come out of the matrix, it's just by sort of logic. It's almost impossible, you know. They have to kind of be tricked, I think. I've been reading the Carlos Castaneda books again, and he talks about this. You know, people naturally won't go for doing the work. They have to be tricked. I'm kind of tricking myself by doing the work on camera, because you know, in theory, this could be like a livelihood for me, right? I could do the work. I could get people to sort of give me donations, you know, and stuff. Maybe I could make a book out of it or something. So I'm kind of tricking myself to sort of keep sticking with the work, right? Now, one of the reasons I recommend, I'm adamant that you need to make your your own video logs when you do the work, is because you're investing in doing the work then. It's kind of a way of tricking yourself to keep doing it. you know. But the thing is, it's not just trickery. There could be valuable investment going on here. Doing the work could be an extremely valuable investment in the sense that if it becomes, which are what I hope it would become, if it's like it works like a blockchain where more and more people start doing the work, right? You will become, you will have a sort of an open for everyone to view picture of your authenticity. And it may very well be that in the future, authenticity becomes the supreme currency in the world. You see, we might get to a point where money becomes obsolete. And so the only thing then that will be of any of the highest currency will be people's reliability, their authenticity, you know. So it may be that doing the work is like a new kind of Bitcoin, but it's more like on a higher level, and it's more set for long-term goals, you know. So that's something to think about, you know. As far as I'm concerned, all this, what I'm saying, is all coming to ground. It's all starting to make more sense to me. I'm feeling the benefits of doing the work. Although it's unfortunate, this person who I'm not going to mention the name of has kind of fucked up doing the work by not doing it properly and ignoring some of my implicit, you know, very strong recommendations. Which to me, basically, when I went at the time, they were intuitive feelings. Now I'm a lot more certain about them. You know, these are things I'm adamant you need to do. You need to take. Now, when it comes to taking Bacopa Monnieri and Gotu Kola, or to balance your left and right side of brain, what it is, people don't understand how how out of balance your thoughts are, and this is a very safe way and straightforward way and cheap way that anybody can use to balance the left and right side of the brain, so you can get a feeling for what it's like to have your left and right side of brain in balance. And for me, when I tried it about 3 or 4 years ago, it was the first time I ever experienced well, I remembered maybe a couple of occasions when I was like a small child, quite young, where I felt more like balanced like that. But apart from that, it was like I could only remember a few times in my life where I felt like that, and then when I was a child. And so taking it makes you realize how out of balance you are and how out of step you are with nature and reality. Now, otherwise, I would recommend taking ayahuasca. Now, ayahuasca it's if you're going to take ayahuasca, which I haven't done, I would recommend you spend at the very, very least a year. I mean, the thing, the problem with this is that most people are impatient, and so I think it was Saint Augustine said, when he was asked what is the most valuable quality for attaining sort of enlightenment and stuff, right? He said it's patience. This is a very common theme throughout, like wise people's words. Is that patience is the answer. You need to have patience. It's the highest virtue. Anyway, where was I going now? You see, my brain I've got like a difficult astrology, which makes my brain like a bit like vacuous, and it absorbs ideas and like the weather, it's like it changes like the weather in my brain. I'm not trying to use it as an excuse. I'm just explaining why my videos aren't very coherent a lot of the time, and there's gaps and stuff. Okay, where did I start off with this video? Let me just think. Oh yeah, it was like a disclaimer video, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Christ in the Bible, I'm not sure if it's Christ, I think it might be in the book of Luke. He says, you can't be a Christian unless you hate your family. And I mean, I could look at this up. I'm pretty sure of it though. So this is one of the reasons why when you do the work, you need to give up. One of the things you need to do is expect to disconnect with all your friends and family. You have to give them all up, right? So, and another thing, the people I would encourage to do the work and direct to do the work are people that are basically thinking about suicide. And I would offer it as an alternative to suicide. I mean, I've mentioned all these things I'm talking about now, basically have mentioned in my earlier videos. So it was kind of a bit of a surprise for me to get these messages like from this guy or person, you know, accusing me of like leading him down the path to the devil or something, which is basically, I didn't deny that was what I was doing, you know, at the beginning. I mentioned, and figuratively speaking, I mean, in the work videos where there's like the first 30 days, I'm sure I mentioned Falun Gong. There's a video of me talking about Falun Gong. I'm sure it's in there. It's available for anyone to watch. Part of the first month of doing the work, and this is like 5 years after this, you know, so like over 5 years, 5.5 years or something now. So this person had all the time in the world to talk to me about his, you know, these problems, but never mentioned them up until now, right? And incidentally, he's accusing me of being like a Satanist and luring him into all this crap. He didn't do the work. One of the things I want to emphasize is that I don't feel responsible, you know, for this person. Although I'm kind of a little bit upset about it, you know, or quite upset really. You know, it's like I don't like the idea of his like innocent family suffering because he's like listened to watch my videos. But the thing is, if you had done the work properly and you had like made the videos, the video logs that I told you to make right at the beginning, you could have mentioned this. I would have seen stuff. There would be a feedback loop, you know, a sense of real proper communication. Now, I've mentioned about the written word. Now, the only way you've been communicating with me essentially is through the written word, right? All you've been giving me is the written word, and I've consistently made videos and mentioned it in many videos on what a huge problem I've got with the written word. And I also mentioned at the beginning of my work videos that one integral part of doing the work is that you have to make your own video logs. Now you've done, and you're not engaging me in conversation about the written word and the problems that it causes. And then it's like the main deep vampire in this world. It's essentially the architect, you know, it springs from the written word. You know, this is in the book of Enoch in chapter 68. Socrates talks about I believe that there's loads of other references, but they're slightly veiled. So you've got like the book of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You've got the thing in chapter 2 of Ecclesiastes where he talks about the man whose labor is in knowledge and wisdom and equity, you know, so that implies the written word. You've got the mark of the beast in Revelation with your right hand and the forehead, how, you know, your left brain is like processing the language and the written word all the time, and it takes over and it becomes like the devil, you know. There's loads of other stuff, you know, it just goes on and on. But it all becomes a bit complicated, you know, so it's difficult to talk about it coherently, and so that I know most of you haven't got much attention span, so and I struggle as well, so there's no point going into too much detail about it all. But it's something, if you're going to think about doing the work, you need to be able to engage me in conversation about the nature of the written word in relation to people, the things that people like Socrates says and the book of Enoch. That it is our downfall, essentially. And so we need to be looking at what the future needs to hold to combat this problem. So it's like it's like a huge aspect of it. It's not something that can be like you can go around. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to take you seriously if you can't understand that what I'm talking about when it comes to the written word being a huge mistake that humanity has made, the evidence being all around you, right in front of your eyes. Then literally, I can't take you seriously because your eyes are not in your head, your ears are not in your head, right? Yes, Taboo, I do use nootropics. So what else? Okay, so it's just to recap what I've gone over so far. It's you need to take the Gotu Kola and Bacopa Monnieri, right? To make sure that your brain is working in balance. Now, what the left brain people are going to think is, oh, I don't need to take these herbs because I'm already thinking it ever so clearly already. Now, that's the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is to get the herbs as from the best quality sources you can. Do the research on them. You know, check out what it says on Wikipedia and watch a few videos. Spend a few days researching these herbs. You know, and then take them so that you know your you know your brain is going to be properly balanced. You might notice a huge change like I did. Oh, I wasn't expecting such a huge change, but they did seem to work very well. Yeah. Okay, I'll get back to you, Tasfula. Just only use them in small amounts. That's what I say. Yeah. Okay. Be prepared. You know, and remember, it's like taking the red pill. You know, out of the Matrix films. So you've got to be prepared to give up all your friends and family. You know, all your attachments to the world. You have to give them up. You know, you have to be prepared to give it all up. So obviously, the vast majority of people are not going to be able to cope with this. It's an alternative to suicide, right? The people I'm aiming at this at is that people that have more or less decided that they want to commit suicide. And what I would say to you is that before you commit suicide, go and take ayahuasca, right? Instead. And if that doesn't work, then maybe do the work, you know, because it means like giving up. It's like as far as your social life is concerned, it's like suicide. You're committing suicide. It's the end of it all, you know. So, hi HLC. Yeah. So no, it's really serious. You know, doing the work is a really serious thing. It's not a joke. Ah, so if you're at suicide point, Tasfuda, and you really mean it, then what you should do is, as far as this video is concerned, because what someone else done is they made a great big mess of it. So what I'd recommend to first of all is get some Bacopa Monnieri and Gotu Kola. They're two herbs. Bacopa Monnieri is sometimes known as Brahmi. Brahmi. You have to do some research, you know, about these things. And then Gotu Kola is also known in the Latin name is Asiatica or Centella Asiatica, I think. Okay. Right, let's see. So if you order these things, you should get both these names come up. I mean, that's more or less, you should be able to get it from there. It's Centella Asiatica or Botucola, and also Brahmi and Bacopa Monieri. They're two herbs. The ideal way to have them is to get the raw herbs dried. I mean, if you can get them fresh, that'd probably be even better, you know. But otherwise, get them dried. You should be able to get them on eBay for quite cheap, around about $3 or $4 for a small portion, enough for you to try them out. It might be a bit more expensive. Try to go for the ones that have got the highest ratings, of course. You want the best quality ones you can get. But you don't need a lot. You don't need to buy yourself like a whole year's worth of supply. You can just take them in a small amount, but try to get good quality ones. You might need to get a few different ones to try out until you get good results. But it should only be like, you shouldn't spend more than $20 or $30 on it, you know, probably a lot less. I'm sure you can get it for less than $10 if you search around on places like eBay. It's difficult to explain. The problem with explaining it, and I appreciate this question because it helps me make my video, is that the left and right brains work in such completely different ways. Most people are based in the left brain, which uses language, whereas the right brain much more uses pictures. So what happens is people end up telling themselves a story in their left brain, like an account, a narrative about how reality is. You know, and so you can think of it as your internal dialogue, the voice that you're telling yourself. You're talking inside your head all the time to tell you what's going on. You know, and create sort of like provides an endless commentary on your life. You know, and argues with the ideas that you might have from your instincts, for example, and your. You know, you have to question it from occasionally. It's like you've got two people in your head, you know, and there's a dialogue going on. It's like what can tend to happen is that the left side takes over and becomes like the boss, and that's not really it's proper how it's supposed to work. It's really kind of meant to be the servant, you know. But when it gets to written word, what I believe happens is that it starts feeling like it's got an extra load of privilege and importance. And so it loses its humility. It becomes proud. But it knows deep down, it knows that it's supposed to be the servant. So what happens is it becomes a traitor. And then people start feeling guilty deep down, and they try to suppress this guilt, and it creates all kinds of problems. And part of doing the work, as far as I'm concerned, is to learn how to not do this to yourself. So this is why I emphasize understanding what the written word is, being able to talk about the written word in an objective way. You know, what is it? What is it doing? What use is it? What is it making us do that we wouldn't do if we didn't have the written word? Now, the obvious answer we can see out in the world is that it's causing us to create a man-made mass extinction event, right? Now, this seems to be a total fucking disaster as far as I'm concerned. You know, we've really made a mess of things. But the thing is, when I try to point this out to people, to me, it seems totally obvious. And yet, I still haven't found. I've been making videos about this for like 5 years, and no one's. The only person that's engaged me in any way, really, in a meaningful way, is one woman, right? Who who said to me that she didn't know how to think about the written word. Now, that's about as best as most people can come up with, you know, if they can come up with anything. And I would, it seems to agree with me that the vast majority of people don't know how to think about the written word. You know, it's like it's so integral to your life that it's like it's like air. It's invisible. You just take it for granted. You just breathe it in and out every day. You don't question it, you know. But one of the things about air, it's not man-made. It's not like artificial. Whereas the written word is artificial. This is why I consider it the mark of the beast, because it's the mark of a man, right? And it's what keeps you people out of paradise. Now, oh dear, there is so much more to this. And so much of it is actually really obvious when you start doing the work and you look at these things really carefully and thoroughly. Things start making a lot more sense. Like, for example, now here's an interesting idea. You've got the Bible, right? Now you've got 30 to 40,000 different denominations of Christianity. That means these people who've read the same book have come to 30 or 40,000 different conclusions about that, what they've read in that book, and created different religions, you know. I mean, this is why I recommend taking these herbs just to balance your left and right brain, because these things are really, really obvious. What's going on? Like if basically, I mean, you look at this, right, in terms of 30 or 40,000 different versions of Christianity, right? Now, that's just the ones that from people that can be bothered to go out of their way to create a whole new religion, right? That's 30 or 40,000. So that probably means that's got to be like maybe 1 in 100 people. So there's probably like 3 or 4 million different ways of looking and coming to different conclusions that people can make reading the Bible. Or I mean, in theory anyway, if you extrapolate. But even so, 30 or 40,000, it's like, it obviously doesn't work, does it? It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Now, obviously it does do some stuff. There are some benefits to the written word. We wouldn't stick with it if it wasn't, you know, didn't have a lot of benefits. You know, we wouldn't carry on using it. It's funny because as soon as I start talking about the written word, it's like my viewers just dropped off. It's like, oh, I'll ignore this. Maybe I'll wait until he comes and talks about something interesting, right? Now, one of the reasons I keep going on about the written word is because, to me, it's become like a gold mine. You know, this understanding about the written word, it's a gold mine. The more you stick with it, it's like you get better at mining the gold. You find the seams and you follow them. Now, when I started doing the work, right, now I think I've more or less covered about the things that like you need to take into consideration when you do the work. You need to realize that it's like taking the red pill. You have to give up your family and friends. I mean, where is that scene in the Matrix films where Neo is like going, oh, hang on a minute, Agent Smith, just give me a moment while I go and check out my mum, you know, and my little kid brother, you know, make sure they're doing okay. Just hold on, stop beating me up for a second. I'm just while I go and check out my family and my friends, you know. Ah dear, you know, it's like I want to be like genuinely concerned, but when I see people, this is the problem. it's really hard. This is one of the reasons I've tried to keep my channel small. Is because I know how fucking stupid people are and how they are agents. They can at any moment they will just turn into an agent and they will try their hardest to sabotage your work. You know. And there's no explanation for it apart from that they're just like Agent Smiths. They all they know is the Matrix, and so they try to defend it with everything they've got. Because if they come up against someone that talks about things outside the Matrix and like escaping the Matrix, and that it's a problem, it's a system of slavery and stuff, they tend to freak out. You know. Even though you can rent, you mention the Matrix films and you point them out, and you imagine that they've watched them and they've seen what's going on and stuff. But apparently, it's all practically anybody and everybody can be so totally deceived that no matter how clearly you explain these things to people, they still get it all totally wrong and then try to blame you for them getting it wrong. Now, that's another thing about being in the left brain. People don't want to take any responsibility for themselves or their actions or their lives, but they so they will, at the slightest opportunity, they will tend to blame people, other people, for the cause of their problems. Some other things that I think are interesting and quite pertinent to this stuff is. And again, left brain people, you won't be able to listen. It's like I'm talking a foreign language. You won't be able to hear. As far as I'm concerned, I'm speaking very clearly and plainly, right? So I'm going to tell you these two simple facts. About 90% of people, when they get to the end of their life, they believe that they've wasted their lives, right? They've just wasted their lives. They're sort of upset. They're remorseful. They feel that they've just totally wasted their lives, because their reason, what they say, the reason why they wasted their lives is because they spent their lives doing what they thought was expected of them, instead of what they really wanted to do. So that's about 90% of people. Now, another statistic. Now, that research was done on all walks of life, all around the world, hundreds of thousands of interviews of people who are on their deathbed, from all walks of life, all around the world, all the countries of the world. Those are the answers that they got. 90% of people basically feel that they've wasted their lives. Now, another statistic from 80% of people from all walks of life, all around the world, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of questionnaires have been done, believe that they are better people than most other people, right? 80% of people believe themselves to be in the top 20% of good people. They are better than most people, right? 80% of people believe that, right? Whew. This is one of the reasons I like to keep my channel small. There's going to be so much criticism. I have to work so hard on my channel and my content to keep it on a level that isn't going to offend too many people, and isn't going to attract too much negative attention. But it's also going to reveal the truth as clearly and concisely as I can, Now, that truth being, optimally, first of all, is that I don't know anything. I'm going to connect with Socrates in two ways. I'm triangulating here, right? On the one hand, I don't think the written word is a good idea, right? It's a bad idea. So I want to emphasize again about people, if they want to do the work, you have to make videos so people can see you in your body and your facial expressions, your physical gestures, the condition of your skin and your body and that, and they hear the way that you talk and stuff. You need to put all that on camera regularly while you're doing the work. It's like part of a blockchain like theory, you know. So that's essential, and it's uncomfortable, you know. It takes a lot of work. You think this just comes naturally to me? It doesn't. I have to really push myself and work at it, right? This is why it's called the work. It's not a hobby, it's work. Okay. One of the reasons I've still stuck with this is because when I started the work, I did have lots of health problems, and I've still got some health problems, but I feel like I've got more control over them now. Not just my health problems, but my general sense of well-being. It feels like it's much more in my control. I've got more free will, you know. And naturally there's a lot of resistance, and this is why I can't have any friends. I've got rid of, I don't have any contact with like old friends or family and stuff. This is kind of like essential, you know. It's part of doing the work. It's like taking the red pill. It's that you're coming out of the matrix. You can't take your friends and family with you, you know. Like to the guy that like accused me of being like a Satanist because, you know, for encouraging him to do the work or letting him to do the work, although he hasn't done it properly. You know, I'm kind of like, this is typical of left brain people. They're so unbalanced that you know, they make these like outlandish accusations because they don't want to have to take responsibility. The thing, a characteristic of the left brain person is that they hate the idea of having to take responsibility for their own self and their own life. They want anything that goes wrong, they like to blame people, right? So an interesting parallel here from this Tim Ferriss book, right? I've just been reading Tools of Titans, because this is, I recommend getting this as well. If you're thinking of doing the work, look about this. You need to borrow from all and spend your time around the best people, the most successful people, the most positive people, you know, the most gifted people, so that their good qualities rub off on you. Because if you spend your time around and thinking about like negative people, miserable people, downgraded people, their negative energies are going to rub off on you, and it will drag you down into the matrix. So to escape the matrix, you know, it's like learning to fly. You know, it's like learning to fucking fly. It's a huge amount of work. I don't know, a lot of you can't even begin to take this stuff seriously. You can't even think about it. You don't know how to think about it. You automatically dismiss what I'm saying because you think it sounds ridiculous. Ah, dear. It's not that difficult to keep my channel small, you know. I'm just going to quickly read you something from here. Okay, 412. Jocko Willink is one of the scariest human beings imaginable. He is a lean 230 pounds. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who used to tap out 20 Navy SEALs per workout. He is a legend in the special operations world, and his eyes look through you more than at you. His interview with me was, this is Tim Ferriss, right? The interview with me was the first interview he ever did, and it took the internet by storm. Jocko spent 20 years in the US Navy and commanded SEAL Team's 3-task unit Bruiser, the most highly decorated special operations unit from the Iraq War. He's a fucking, you know, stand-up guy. He's like, you know, a proper hardcore SEAL. He's like the top SEAL Navy, like officer sort of like person. He's incredibly fucking hardcore, you know. He's got this book. Oh, what is it? Oh, #1 New York Times bestseller, Extreme Ownership: How US Navy SEALs Lead and Win. Extreme ownership. So he's talking about owning your shit, really, at the end of the day. I'm just looking at the comments there. It's a bit distracting. Oh, another thing interesting about supplements. Like, there's other supplements I also recommend taking very strongly, you know, before you think about doing the work, and that would be oh, hi HRC, thanks. Magnesium supplements, and check all of them out, but also try a lot of them out. Maybe go for the slightly cheaper ones. You know, if you're very healthy and you know you're not an alcoholic, then maybe even try magnesium oxide. That does seem to work for some people, and it's probably much cheaper than most other supplements. But apart from that, if you're not so healthy, I'd try magnesium citrate to consume orally. Magnesium chloride you get in a spray, Zechstein salt, sea salt. It's pure magnesium chloride, and you can spray it on your skin. You can use it orally as well, a little bit. Magnesium sulfate or Epsom salts. Apparently, some people use that orally as well. I tend to use it in the bath. I just put like 2 or 3 cups in the bath, a hot bath, and stay in a hot bath for 20 minutes or a bit more than 20 minutes. And I don't just use it for the magnesium. I have a hot bath to get my body temperature up. There are lots of health benefits for this as well. So if you have a hot bath with magnesium sulfate, you get a double benefit. You know, when you get to the point where you feel like you want to get out because you're overheating a little bit, you just want to stay in a few minutes more after that and then get out. You know, and then what I like to do is wrap myself in a big towel and sweat and drink some water and sweat for like you know, sometimes up to half an hour or 40 minutes. I'll carry on sweating. You know, sometimes I in the winter, because it's, you know, it's easy, it works better. I will wrap myself in a towel or 2 towels and get back into bed and put the quilt over me, so it keeps me warm, and my body will just keep sweating out all the toxins and stuff. So that's really good, and it's got loads of really good health benefits. It's not just getting rid of toxins; it does other things as well, other really good things. It's a huge amount of benefit. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the work as well. You know, either have a sauna or have a hot bath. Really important. See, if you start missing out these sort of things that are, like, as far as I'm concerned, are integral, you're not going to really get much benefit from doing the work, and it'd just be a total waste of time. Yeah, you've got to look at things like you are a warrior. So, like, for example, I'm going to have to make this personal, I'm afraid. But if you're eating too much, like, for example, and you're obese, that is 8 times, statistically 8 times worse for you, more deadly than smoking. Now, I smoke on my videos generally. Most videos I'm smoking, but if you're obese, if you're seriously overweight, that's 8 times more deadly for you than smoking. And it's not like I've got children here that are having to suffer my secondhand smoke. I'm always on my own here when I'm smoking. You know, I never, unless if I've got people present, it's because they smoke as well. If I'm smoking, you know, it's not like I'm doing any harm to any people. I'm not causing any sort of bad karma to anyone. And this idea that smoking is a really negative thing, it is not taken anything like as in the same context that being overweight is so much more dangerous for you. To me, I feel offended by people that are deeply overweight. You know, I know it's not necessarily always their fault, but fundamentally, it's still their fault. Yeah, that's another thing. Fat people that smoke, I mean, they are the real baddies, aren't they? You know, that's almost like real suicide. They've got real courage, you know. They're doing it properly. I mean, if you want to kill yourself slowly, but also not waste time about it, then get obese and start smoking. That will do you quick, you know. That's why I think it's important for me to lose weight, because the reason I smoke and drink, you know, I picked up 6 bottles of this really nice wine. It's like 90 out of 100. It's in the good stuff. It's like normally £9 a bottle. I've got 6 bottles for about 40 quid from Lidl, and it's like it's 15%. You know, have you ever seen a bottle of wine that's 15%? Look at that. You know, 15% alcohol. It's not port, it's just normal wine. It's just extremely strong, and it's got a really tight, nice, rounded, sweet taste. And look at where it's from. And I don't speak French fluently, but Domaine de la Coume Dieu. Now, that to me, I mean, I'm just using a rough translation from the area of the field of God. That's how I translate it. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is. I hope it's quite accurate. But that's kind of how it tastes. It's like if God had a field in somewhere in France, you know, this is what the wine from there would taste like, you know. It's very rounded, nice complex flavor, sweet and yet strong in alcohol, but you don't even notice it. It's just like it's the alcohol is very well disguised, you know, but in a almost like an honest way, you know. It's disguised in an honest way. It's so I've got this to, you know, because I think it's important to be surrounded by good things that you make you feel good, you know. Oh no, I refuse to believe that, HRC. You can't be a real baddie. You must have, like, whatever you're doing, it's like it's part of a long-term plan. I'm sure of it. And well, anyway, yeah, it's like, yeah, I have to not have the attachments. I mean, I recommend people doing the work. If what Tasfuda says is like you was seriously thinking about suicide, then by all means do the work instead. But you know, if it's more straightforward, maybe look at doing ayahuasca. But then otherwise, before you do the work, do look at things like Gotu Kola and Brahmi. Also exercise. You know, combine it with like. You know, I have to. I can't make this video drag on forever. But you know, common sense in it. Different types of exercise that are like going to make you feel good. You can always look at my blogs. I've mentioned a few exercises in my blogs. So this is part of a series. I really am going to try and put these in order. In a on my channel as a collection. That's what I need to do, so they're in order, so people can look at them from July 2019. You know, as opposed to going back to, was it 2014 when I done my the work? Probably. So that's 5 years now. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, let's get this. I'm going to get this video over with, because it's like getting to the point now where I'm just like tired of it all. So yeah, I think I've pretty much covered all the things. So basically, just to recap on these things, you have to make videos. You've got to make your own video logs if you're going to do the work. Just to create continuity, communication. What's the other things? Authenticity. There's more stuff. I maybe mentioned it earlier, but it's those kinds of things. They're so important. They are essential. Then the Bacopa and Monieri, and Gotu-Kola herbs to balance the left and the right side of the brain. That's also absolutely key. There's no excuse to not do that. It's very, very straightforward. It's very safe. And it can make a huge amount of difference, and it's like an insurance policy to make sure that you're thinking clearly, because most people who are left-brained, which is most people, they are not thinking clearly, and it's a revelation to take these things and to experience your left and right side of your brains being imbalanced. It's almost like dreaming while you're awake. Your life takes on a dreaming quality, but one that makes perfect sense to you, and it doesn't feel like disturbing in any way. It feels perfectly natural, and you've not experienced it before, except maybe occasionally when you was a child. That was my experience, and I absolutely demand it. If you're going to do the work and you want me to take any sort of responsibility for you doing the work, you've got to do those things, right? You'd have to explain that, HRC. Okay. What else? Oh yeah, engaging me with talk about the written word and how it is a bad idea. This connects with the left brain again. It's a lot of this stuff is connecting with the left brain. How it's like language based, and it becomes dominant. If you feed it, it grows stronger. And it gets so strong it becomes like dominant, and that you don't want that. The written word is a really bad idea because it feeds the left brain. It's like you don't feed the animals. It's an animal. Your left brain is an animal. Your right brain is made in the image of God. That's as close as you can get to human. So that's okay. Feed the right brain. Do things like meditation. Spend time on your own. There are ways of feeding the right brain. Maybe this is another thing. It's difficult to talk about these things because they're so suppressed. But maybe take some psychedelic substances if you can, like LSD in very small. Do microdosing of things like LSD and psilocybin, right? These things are really good for your brain balance and stuff, Well, we know what side you're sticking to, don't we, HRC? Or Anna doesn't actually know. No, that doesn't necessarily fit. Inflected. Meh. I think like you're a CIA agent trying to distract me. You're an agent, HRC. I'm not going to be distracted by this kind of stuff. You engage me in conversation about the written word. It shows some enthusiasm about doing the work. I know what it's like when vast majority of people are deeply entrenched in the written word and the left brain, and they don't realize it because it's like to them it's just like breathing. It's like they don't recognize it as an alien thing. It's like it's essentially it's alien. It's artificial. The reason it slips unnoticed is because it's made by other humans. But what do we hear about things like in like the oh no, I meant to. That is so bad. No, let me just put. I accidentally said hide on your. It won't let me change it. Hang on. Put using time hide on the thing. Hide user on fucking hell. Ah, no, that is so out of order. View deleted message. Brain is a shit. Oh, I pressed hide and now it won't let me unhide it. Oh, no, I didn't mean to. Can you put that message in again, HRC? Because I accidentally pressed on hide and now it's hidden. It says the left brain is the shit. That's what it says. And I think it's now hidden. Did you see that? My screen flashed. Say, you've got power there, HRC. Your power made my screen flash. Okay. All right, show. That's it. See, that's funny. It's one of those things. And oh, another thing, right? I've noticed that people have got a resistance to talking about this stuff by making funny comments, right? Now, it's a left brain activity. It's a means of staying in control and not having to take responsibility by thinking about this stuff, you know. So you're creating a joke. It's people do it automatically. They can't help themselves. Yeah, hi Snow. It's a way of kind of protecting yourself, you know, from the truth of the right brain. Because then there is like it's like a compromise. It's like who is it like, you know? It's like it's like kind of Godzilla versus the King Kong, you know. You know, King Kong is going to win, but Godzilla is still like a bit dark, you know, and quite a threat, you know. A bit scary, you know. But you know, King Kong is the good guy. King Kong is like the right brain, and Godzilla is like the left brain. You see. I mean, I hope that's obvious to you all. And it should be. It's totally obvious to me. Okay. So I might as well do. Have I gone over them all? What else is there to cover? So repetitively going over them, I suppose I can talk to you guys while I'm doing this stuff here. So I'm just going to go over them again until I get the sort of. I think there's probably about 5 things now I've come up with that are really important if we're going to start doing the work. One is the dealing with the written word being a great evil, according to people like Socrates and the Book of Enoch and stuff like that. Then, if you're going to do the work, you want to make your own videos when you do the work. That's really important. 3, you've got to be prepared to give up all your friends and family, all your attachments and stuff, right? Say goodbye to them all. It's the equivalent of taking the red pill. Now, he didn't go back, did he? Neo, he doesn't go back and say goodbye to his mother after he's taken the red pill. And I just want to quickly check on my mum and my little brother and stuff. It doesn't happen in the Matrix movies, right? So you've got to think of it like that. It's like it's a very serious thing. It's like taking the red pill. Okay, it's not like taking an ayahuasca trip or an acid tab or something. This is why I would say to you, if you're thinking about doing the work and you haven't done ayahuasca, I would rather you go and do ayahuasca. But if that's a real problem for some reason, then at the very least you should take Gotu Kola and Bacopa Monieri to balance the left and right side of the brains, because only a crazy person and a desperado would consider doing the work. You've got to be on the point of virtually like thinking that you'd rather do you practically want to commit suicide anyway, you know. So I would look at this as an alternative to committing suicide, you know. Okay, HRC, I think you've got a point there. You know, the right brain can't draw everything. If thy left brain offend thee, pluck it out. Yep. I'm not going to quite that. That's, you know, that sounds true to me. You know. Yeah. Oh, the other thing is, right. I've you know, I just want to emphasize again. I've kept my channel as small as I can, while still trying to grow it and trying to keep it a little bit entertaining. But one of the reasons I've kept it small is just to literally to avoid this sort of situation that I've been talking about in this video. People accusing me of being like a Satanist, and what's it? And also doing the work improperly. I mean, trying to get. And the funny thing is, right from the beginning, I really tried to emphasize it. I really tried to make it clear. If people want to do the work, then make video blogs yourself, okay? So that I can keep track of you. So because if you're looking at my videos, then if you do your own videos about yourself doing the work, and I can see them, I can sort of like keep an eye on you, you know, like a mentor. It seems to make so much sense to me, you know, because it becomes a model that other people can use and refine and develop, you know. So hence the idea of I wanted to make it into like a blockchain. So like as in terms of developing the idea of authenticity and doing the work as a future currency, a future high-level currency. Because it's quite likely, if we follow the Star Trek view or paradigm, you know, we get in 100 or 200 years, or maybe less, we will have to abandon the whole concept of money and just give food to people because they need to eat, you know, and leave it up to other people what they want to do with their time and stuff, you know, and maybe it will go like you know, electronic money where it's just credits, you know, but they are not necessary because everybody gets everything they need to live anyway. So you don't actually need money, but some people can use money because if they want to like put extra effort in, so they can gain credits, they can buy stuff as well with it that you wouldn't otherwise get access to for everybody, because you can only give everybody a certain amount of stuff free. When it comes to like gold Rolex watches, they have to pay for them, you know, Ferraris, high class prostitutes and that kind of thing, you know. You got to pay proper money for that. Yeah, so what else is there? I think I've covered it all. You know, I think I've covered it several times now. Yeah, mentorship blockchain. That sounds like to me, that's what it's about. Doing the work, you know. I can look at it like a pyramid scheme, but in a positive way, you know, because I'm not asking for people's money. I just want them to do the work. I will oversee them doing the work. And then when they've done it properly and I'm happy with them, I can say, right, well, you know, it seems to be working. You've got all the hallmarks of success. Now you can oversee other people doing the work, but I can still oversee you overseeing other people doing the work. And so can everyone else, you know, and it becomes like a blockchain then. And if it doesn't work, if people aren't successful and they aren't developing in a really positive way, everybody gets to see if there's a complete accountability, you see. So that's my kind of answer, and that's my disclaimer for all this stuff. I don't know why HRC that it's saying hide or show. That seems like a perfectly decent comment. So I'm going to put show, obviously, but I'm struggling to wonder why it needed. Is it the word vagina? Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I need a disciple with a vagina. It's like it makes sense, you know. It's like it would fit the pattern. You said the V word, yeah. I mean, why it should be like blocked for that? It's like, yeah. I don't want to go into that. There's so many other things I could mention that are like that, and it's. I'm kind of been rejoicing lately that I'm in a really positive mood, and I'm feeling. Even though that's another thing I want to mention about this incident. It's like I actually feel good about it because what it demonstrates is that the work works. It does what it's supposed to do. It attracts the attention of what Don Juan would call the inorganic beings, or the devil. You know, these like the watchers. You know, depending on what words you want to use. You know, evil spirits. You know, the agent Smiths, the agents. It attracts them. I mean, this is quite basic stuff, really, and but it's a good sign for me. Although I want to emphasise as well, I feel I'm quite upset about the fact that the person responsible has really let me down quite a lot, and not just let me down, but kind of more or less or in a roundabout way accused me of being a Satanist. And as far as I'm concerned, the way I look at it is it'd almost be like the opposite of that. You know, I don't know what people mean by Satanist. There's all different ways of looking at it, but it almost doesn't work. It's not worthy of any real proper attention in terms of answering those kinds of things. I just can't be bothered. I don't feel any need to defend myself against those kind of accusations. I think they're obviously groundless. Although, thank you, HRC. HRC just said Satanism is too pure and simple. Yeah, it just doesn't fit with me. It's like trying to put a little vest on me when I'm just, you know, it's like I'm going to wear a suit of armor anyway, so nobody's going to see the vest. You know, it's like, they didn't even notice it. So you know, if no one else is going to take it seriously, why should I? You know. Anyway, nice to see you, HRC. Thanks for all your comments. Yeah, you've been fun as always, and respectful and that. Okay, thanks everyone else for watching. Again, if this, I hope this is going to be a disclaimer video. I might put this on my channel as my main video for people to see when they come to my channel. Yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. Ultimately, the bottom line is don't do the work, because you know you probably ain't ready for it. And if you just watch this video again and double check and triple check that you're really somebody that ought to be doing the work. You're somebody that would otherwise, if you don't do the work, you're probably going to commit suicide. So do the work. That's the only real people that should be doing the work. If otherwise, if you didn't do the work, and then otherwise you're going to commit suicide, then by all means, please do the work. But if you're anyone else, you know, I just stay away. Don't even bother. If you're not that desperate, don't bother with it. It's too much hard work. You've got to give up all your friends and family. You know, you've got to work hard doing exercise, doing loads of research, and acting like a warrior for the rest of your life. And it's a never-ending path. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's well worth it, because it's synonymous with being a real, true Christian, which I don't see any evidence of any of them in the real world at all. I'm basically the only one that I know of. Okay, thanks for watching, you guys. Bye. Please thumb up my video and share it with really cool people, but not, you know, only people like Dave Asprey and Tim Ferriss, that kind of people, you know. Oh dear. Well, that's how you have to think, you know. I have to think like that. Okay, goodbye.